not that heavy engineering is quite over yet. The propellers have to be fitted to the ends of their long shafts. They each weigh 32 tons and have been computed to deliver an elaborate combination of economy, efficiency, and power. Graceful as sculptures, it's easy to forget that these are among the most technically complex pieces of design on the whole ship. The funnel has arrived. It's too tall to put on in the covered yard. The distinctive galleries round the stern, above one of the ship's 4 swimming pools, are getting their cladding of teak. As well as having the largest pool, Oriana has more open deck than any other cruise ship. Something else the British like. And teak not only looks good, it's exceptionally hard-wearing. It comes from plantations, not rainforests. Joiners fit more teak round the pool. January 1995, and Oriana weighs anchor for the last time on dry land. Her hull is now completely painted. And the dock is flooded. The dock where 2,000 men have laboured for almost 2 years, where the keel laying ceremony took place, where the band played, will soon be full of water. Oriana is to enter her natural element. A tug has been hoisted over the top of her to guide her safely into the river. The bow, which went through so many designs to get the ship looking right, is no longer Block 42, but the prow of the world's newest superliner. At last she's afloat, and like a priceless pupa emerging from its chrysalis, Oriana, here speeded up 35 times, makes her entrance to the world on a bitter winter's day. Crowned with her funnel, she now looks like a ship, an important consideration for P&O. Charles Arkinstall.
We have tried to keep the ship as a more traditional looking vessel, and we believe the profile has ample demonstration of that.
But if the ship is beginning to look finished on the outside, inside there is still much to do. There is the matter of carpets for a start. Brintons of Kidderminster won the contract from 20 competitors worldwide. Again, computers had a part in the design. Robert Tilburg's Tudor Rose is destined for the Theatre Royal. Nearly 1 3/4 square miles of carpets were made and delivered to the yard over 18 months. In the theatre, the revolving stage does a turn. In modern shipyards like Meyerwerft, specializing in passenger vessels, the carpenters, cabinet makers, electricians and electronics engineers now easily outnumber the traditional shipbuilding craftsmen, those who work in steel. That is one measure of the amount of work that remains before the ship is finished. Restaurants, this is the Oriental. Lounges and all the public areas now have to be civilized. The famous waterfall, tested on Canberra, tumbles through Oriana's atrium, one of the hard hat areas of just a few days ago, now being transformed by soft furnishings. The lifts have been in place for some time, but the checking never stops. All that stainless steel fabricated in the farmyard in Poland is being fitted in the galley. On the bridge, electronics experts are making the connections that will give Oriana the most advanced navigation and control systems of any cruise ship in the world. The Oasis Fitness Centre is appropriately getting a workout from fitters. And the Crow's Nest, soon to be a favourite vantage point for passengers, is having its big observation windows trimmed. More carpet is laid. Throughout the ship there are 32 different designs. The Steinway, on which the classical recitals will be performed in the Curzon room, makes an undignified entrance for a grand piano. Like now, at the top of the ship in the self-service restaurant, the conservatory. It is so light that architect Robert Tilberg refuses to refer to windows here. He calls them glass walls. Turn the other way, and the vista is of an English garden depicted on a mural. Like the great houses of yesterday, Oriana, the great ship of today, and her owners, P&O, have been considerable patrons of the arts. There are almost 3,000 pictures in the ship, more than hang in the National Gallery. The man behind the collection is Tom Tempest Radford.
Morning, Kip. How are you? Yes, thank you very much indeed for sending me that print. I like it a lot. There's just a few things that I wanted to go over with you.
A fine art consultant who advises corporate and private buyers. He was responsible for acquiring all the original pictures. Some 30 works were specially commissioned. The biggest is the mural for the Peninsula Restaurant, painted in oils by Rose Warnock. Its theme is in scale with its dimensions. The story of Odysseus extends 17 meters along one wall of the restaurant. It was a stipulation by P&O that all the artists every deck, the story is the same. The armies of craftsmen have gone. Just the odd figure is left, doing not much more than tidying and titivating. In fact, the ship, which so recently was all noise and hammering, is now eerily empty and quiet. No more bursts of welding sparks, no more screeching drills. In the Curzon room, the serenity is reflected in Alice Kettle's embroideries, some of the largest in the world. Furniture for the purser's desk, the seat of information, you might say. The Curzon room piano has recovered its dignity. Peter Pan's playroom is poised to lose its tranquility. Anderson's Lounge, named after one of P&O's founders, will always have an air of decorum, being modelled on a gentleman's club. Lord's Tavern, which continues the tradition of Canberra's cricketers' bar, is more clubhouse than pub. All the Theatre Royal needs now is an audience in their seats and a show on stage. This is the only time in its life it will ever be dark. The decks are being cleaned for Oriana's first social occasion. The German Chancellor Helmut Kohl comes to Papenburg to honour the Meyerwerft yard as it celebrates its 200th anniversary. He is to have lunch on board. At this stage, the ship is technically still German, so Lord Stirling is here as a guest. The chefs can breathe easy, and Bernard Meyer can take pride in the recognition given to his company. February 1995, and amid much emotion, Oriana is to leave the yard and begin her journey to the sea. It will take 24 hours for her to travel the 30 miles down the River Ems. A crowd estimated at more than 100,000 lines the banks. Witnesses to an extraordinary spectacle. A 69,000-ton ocean liner feeling her way through the cow pastures of Lower Saxony. A railway bridge has been dismantled to let her pass, and the river has been dredged. Bridges and shallows are rites of passage as the great ship heads, almost instinctively, to the sea. She sails straight into a force 10 gale. The conditions for her sea trials off the coast of Denmark are foul. Commodore Gibb is a spectator. A German captain is in command. During the trials, every item of the ship's equipment, all her machinery and control systems, are tested and commissioned. Representatives of Lloyd's, the insurers, the government's Marine Safety Agency, as well as P&O, are on board to give the ship their final approval.
Otherwise, everything on track from your point of view? Well, using steam as the main heating source.
Perhaps we can give them a copy of the...
Between spells at sea, Oriana dry docked in Hamburg. It is the last opportunity to ensure that everything is right before the ship enters service. Already the sailors on board have been impressed by her sea-keeping qualities in that rough weather. The maiden cruise is less than 2 weeks away, and the ship must take on its enormous inventory of stocks. 2,500 pairs of trousers have arrived. All have to be finished to fit individual members of the crew. Cartons of china are taken on board. Wedgwood, who, like Meyerwerft, are celebrating their bicentenary, won a big order. They made the china for the 2 main restaurants. 86,000 pieces. The washing up doesn't bear thinking about, or the price, more than £300,000. Each piece bears Oriana's rising sun emblem, adapted from the P&O coat of arms. Glasses from which will be drunk 1,000 toasts, and which will slake 500,000 thirsts in a score of summers. Ravenhead supplied 75,000 pub glasses from their factories in Lancashire and Belgium. Elkington of Sheffield have been making cutlery for P&O for more than 100 years. Almost from the time when they invented silver plating in 1836. Before that, passengers either brought their own family silver or used the ship's cutlery of pewter or steel. Manufacture is nothing if not traditional. All the more impressive then that Oriana's order was for some 77,000 pieces, or 16 tons of silver-plated cutlery and tableware. The ship has come through her trials with approvals and certificates flying. The German flag too, but only for a couple more days. Like a graduate just qualified with a fine degree, she must now make her way in the world. There are graduation ceremonies to be gone through first. Oriana was born on a river. It seems fitting then that these last days of passenger-free sailing should be spent in rivers. From Hamburg she sails down the Elbe and along the coast of Germany to Emden at the mouth of the Ems, the river on which she was built. One last formality must be performed before the ship leaves Germany. Lord Stirling, Gwyn Hughes and Commodore Gibb are in Emden for the official handing over of the vessel. Bernard Meyer, representing the shipyard, joins Tim Harris, chairman of P&O Cruises, on the quay. As Commodore Gibb comes aboard, the ship's company turn the decks in the stern into a theatrical grand circle. It is a spectacular moment. Who knows on what occasion it may ever be repeated? On behalf of P&O, Tim Harris receives the ship's papers from Herr Meyer. And as the red ensign flies for the first time, Gwyn Hughes sums up 8 years' achievement.
Oriana is uniquely British. It will be the first modern cruise ship that will operate out of British ports and will take the British cruise market into the 21st century, whilst retaining the classical elements of the British tradition of sea travel.
The new ship is at last heading for home. For the first time she is being sailed by her British officers. They have put away their civvies and donned uniform for the crossing to England. They trained on a simulator of Oriana's bridge in Southampton, but this is the real thing. All over the ship, routines are being started that will shortly be serving passengers.
Welcome to the port, sir. Nice to see you.
SOHQ.
Commodore Gibb, who has waited so long for this moment, is irrepressible.
Delight. Absolute delight.
Start out with the door first,
working for a long time for this, and it's fantastic on a nice day like this.
At the entrance to Southampton Water, Lord Stirling allows himself to savour the emotion of the occasion.
There's rare occasions that one brings in a ship of this standard, and particularly to the United Kingdom. And there's a schoolboy and everybody, frankly. And, you know, with the general atmosphere, the crew on board and the crew bar last night, the morale is riding very high, and it's a magnificent ship. There's people that make a ship, and it's very exciting. So all one can say is we're all here together and coming into his home water, coming to Southampton.
Which knows a thing or two about shipping, turns out to greet its important new citizen. Just over 2 years since her keel was laid, and with Commodore Gibb in command, the P&O flagship enters her home waters for the first time. A queen arrives at her court to keep an appointment with her queen. John McNeice, with long experience in world shipbuilding, puts the new ship into context.
You're going to see a whole new concept in cruise ship design when Oriana hits the water. It will be, in my opinion, the benchmark against which all other ships will be measured.
And when the royal standard has been lowered, when the fireworks are over, when the celebrations have faded into echoes, when the bands have packed up their instruments, when the gangplank has been removed, Oriana goes to work. On April the 9th, 1995, she sailed for Madeira with 1,850 passengers on board for her maiden cruise. For Oriana, we end at the beginning. To begin at an ending. The Queen is to close one chapter and open another in the life of Oriana, the new flagship of one of Britain's oldest shipping lines, the Peninsula and Oriental Steam Navigation Company. It has taken the toil of several hundred days, the skill and inspiration of several thousand people, and the expenditure of £200 million to arrive at this day. April the 6th, 1995, Southampton. It is an illustrious day. Ships may no longer go down slipways, but they are named in style. The choir of Westminster Abbey sings. The band of the Royal Marines plays. Anthems and fanfares on the pipes and drums of the Scots Guards, and the Bishop of Basingstoke gives the blessing.
bless this ship and all who sail in her. Preserve your people from the perils of the deep. Blessed are you, our light and our joy, now and forever. Amen.
The Queen, accompanied by Lord Stirling, Chairman of P&O, utters the words immemorial.
I name the ship Oriana. May God bless her and all who sail in her.
It is 2 years before those festivities at Southampton. We are 30 miles from the sea. The flat farmland of northern Germany is about as far from shipbuilding as imagination can reach. Yet here at Papenburg, on a river bank, stands a great shed, big enough to hold the Houses of Parliament, or a mighty ship. The keel is to be laid. Job number 636 is also to have a name, announced by Tim Harris, chairman of P&O Cruises.
After much thought, consideration, and consultation, we have decided that the right name for this ship is Oriana.
It is as if a flag has dropped to start a race. The band strikes up a quick march, and as the guests go upstairs to raise their glasses, the first sections of the new ship downstairs are lowered into place. Construction starts before a bowl of celebratory soup is served. It was at the end of the 1980s that P&O took the first bold steps toward ordering the first cruise ship ever to be custom built for the British market. It would have to be the biggest and fastest for almost a generation. Long before the contract was signed in December 1991, P&O had their own team working in Germany. Oriana is a ship with computers in her genes. Most of the design was done by computer, and computers will eventually run her. During construction, 15,000 documents a year are generated. For months, the ship has existed only on paper, in 6 loose-leaf folders codenamed Gemini. Charles Arkansas, Director of Fleet Services and one of the principal architects of the new ship.
The successful building of the vessel, because they define in full detail what the ship will comprise of, how the shipyards will build it.
The specification required it to be environmentally sympathetic. P&O insisted on products that were The paint was made in Newcastle upon Tyne. Other parts of the ship came from all over Europe. The galley equipment from Poland, a village not far from the ancient city of Poznan. The stabilizers from Edinburgh. Carpets from Kidderminster, and engines from Augsburg in Germany. They were big diesels, built by MAN, B&W, on the site where in 1897, Rudolf Diesel made his first engine. Oriana's power plant is unique. She has 8 engines, 4 to propel her, and 4 auxiliaries generating her electricity. The main engines are massive. The 2 biggest at 216 tons are the size of small ships. All were run up to full power on the factory test bed. The engines were delivered by barge. More than 70% of the ship came from outside the yard, a high proportion. Each part had to be completed and brought to Papenburg on time to meet the construction timetable. The logistics of this were one of the most intricate, if inconspicuous, aspects of the project. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. 10 shipyards bid for the Oriana contract. Their quotations ranging from £190 million to £290 million. Charles Arkansas.
After receiving the quotations, we identify which of the yards we feel are able to work with us to produce an acceptable design, and a price level which we feel is competitive. We chose Meyer Werft because we felt they had the right combination of price, quality and design.
The managing director of Meyer Werft is Bernard Meyer.
The shipyard was founded in 1795 by my grandfather, so I'm the sixth generation. And the yard stay all the time in the Meyer family. The shipyard was founded, of course, to build firstly wooden boats, to bring the peat from Papenburg to the town like Emden, Bremen and Hamburg.
Once there were 27 shipyards in Papenburg. Only Meyer's has survived. They alone converted to building ships in steel. It took 15,000 tons of steel sheet to build Oriana. Once the steel arrived at Meyer Werft, it would not leave again until it floated out in the finished ship. Every phase of the construction is done at the yard, undercover. Lasers guided from the computer designs cut out the sections with astonishing accuracy and speed. Every aperture, ducts, holes, pipe runs, doorways and cable route is allowed for. Timber supports have never been bettered, although today's technique is to build ships in big prefabricated blocks. They are assembled from the cut and shaped steel right alongside the construction dock. Meyer Werft's cranes are as critical to the yard's success as the covered dock itself. One can lift 600 tons. Gradually the ship takes shape. The terraces exposed now will be the theatre. The process is a production line. Each block has its own construction schedule, usually about a month. On the date when it is completed, it is swung over the dock and lowered onto the hull with the delicacy of a model maker. In a way, the minutiae of shipbuilding is as impressive as the gargantuan side of the project. There are nuts and bolts and men at benches, as well as bits weighing hundreds of tons. In the world's largest indoor construction dock, there is still a place for the self-tapping screw. P&O knew the ship they wanted, but it was the designers who would show them how to achieve it. Robert Tillberg, a Swede, is one of the world's foremost marine architects. He was appointed the coordinating designer. In the past, most of the ships with which he has been involved were built for American passengers. The brief here was unequivocal. Oriana was to be British.
I think the differences are very complicated. It's a way of behaving on board and the preferences they have. The color schemes for British passengers can't be the same as for the American passengers because they have different experience, etc.
At this stage, he was working on the theatre and its Tudor rose motif.
In the brief, it was mentioned that the British passengers and this ship should have more public rooms, but smaller. And instead of building a big show lounge for Las Vegas shows, we are now building a typical London theatre.
Peter Iran, a Norwegian, designed the cabins. He too had to discover the British style.
So we had to find out and look at interiors and designs from England to try to find out the significant things for that an Englishman would like to meet when he goes in his cabin, which is the area that I'm designing. And we have then not copied any English pub or English classic turn-of-the-century interior, but still used a lot of wood, warm colors, put a lot of shelves and small places to put things, etc. Brass we use. So there is a flair of what we could think as a modern ship, but with an English touch to it.
Even John McNeice, the British member of the design team, had to brush up his understanding of his fellow countrymen. The first question he asked himself was, who was the ship being designed for?
I had to answer it with genuine, researched facts. And therefore I did like to go into the pubs in Middle England and go into the restaurants and look at the windows of the estate agents to see the sort of houses and so on.
I can describe it by saying it's not as flashy as an American ship. It's more subdued, more elegant, more timeless. Most of the inspiration I got at the start, I drew from Canberra, which is a very fine old ships, and I understand very popular amongst the British passengers. But our aim is to create a ship for year 2000.
In July 1993, Lord Stirling had his first real indication of how Oriana's character was shaping. Among those with him, the man who will have to sell Oriana Cruises, Marketing Director David Dingle. In the company's Pall Mall headquarters, a display was mounted for the chairman's approval of what the designers call colour boards. Robert Tilburg.
The idea with the colour board is to try to help our the owners and also the shipyard and ourselves to visualize the room and the ambience with the color. And this is a typical color board where you see the different materials. This is supposed to be later on a mural. Those are the chairs, curtains, and this picture gives the ambiance of the particular room.
Oriana's first voyage was on dry land. In her day, she will encounter bigger rollers than these. Driven by hydraulic jacks, the 4,000-ton structure was repositioned 50 meters down the dock, moving at imperceptible speed. Of the 49 prefabricated blocks from which the ship was assembled, Block 16 was the heaviest at 722 tons. This was the one on which the engines would be mounted. The four main engines, the ones that drive the propellers, have a combined output of 54,000 horsepower. They cost several £1 million and stand as high as a house. In the ship, they will be placed side by side in pairs, a configuration touchingly called father and son. It is the autumn of 1993, 7 months into the build, but 5 years from when the idea of a new superliner was mooted. This, in fact, is the quick bit. It is all the planning, budgeting, modifying, calculating, and agonizing that goes on before the first weld is ever made that takes time. Behind the theatre, the forward lifts are now discernible. Two more decks, numbers 8 and 9, are swung into place and lowered like a lid on the Theatre Royal. A section like this weighs about 450 to 500 tons. The 680-seat theatre would eventually be acclaimed as Oriana's single most outstanding room. But so large a space, without any stiffening pillars to interrupt the audience's view, gave the yard's structural engineers major problems. By strengthening the surrounding steelwork, they were able to redistribute the stresses round what to them was a cavern halfway up the ship. These are the tunnels for the bow thrusters. Oriana's draft of 7.9 meters enables her to visit a wide range of ports, and at the same time maintains her seaworthiness in every ocean. Like other world cruises, her 32-meter beam is dictated by the width of the Panama Canal. The teeth of a bull wheel from one of the gearboxes gets a final polish. Each pair of engines is coupled to a gearbox which transmits the power to the two propellers. The gearboxes are a combination of brute strength and watchmaker's precision. They reduce the speed of the engines by nearly 3 times. The engines turn at 428 RPM, the propeller shafts at 128. Each gearbox weighs 106 tons. Besides the gearing, they also contain the clutches, which, controlled by computer, switch the engines through a series of different combinations to meet exactly the performance the captain requires at any given time. February 1994, and we are now just over a year from delivery. Half the steelwork has been erected. The propeller shafts have been eased into their bearings, one of the trickiest operations, and the complex business of fitting out the engine room is underway. Throughout the 2-year build, the P&O project team of naval architects, engineers, and the people who will eventually run the ship are constantly involved in design decisions and quality control. Almost as much ship in the assembly area ready to be craned into position as there is welded in the construction dock. The outside of the ship is being prepared for painting. We're in what will be the Peninsula Restaurant. One of the advantages of the building block technique is that as soon as a section has been added, work can start on the interior. Passengers will be on their way to their cabins down this corridor in 14 months' time. And here the blue boiler suits will be replaced by the white uniforms of a brigade of chefs. This is going to be the galley. If building the ship on a river seems incongruous, this farm in Poland producing the galley equipment is even more so. It's a highly specialized job, and this factory just outside Poznan is one of only a handful capable of tailoring stainless steel to the confines of cruise ship galleys. The equipment has to be very strong to stop it distorting from the movement of the ship and hard wearing. The bucolic scenes should not mislead you. From Poland to Edinburgh. No British yard could compete for the Oriana order, but one of the proudest names in British marine engineering built the stabilizers. Brown Brothers made the first ship stabilizers in 1935. Extended in heavy seas, they work like an aircraft's ailerons. As the ship rolls, the fins tilt to correct it. Orianas are the biggest stabilizers ever fitted to a ship, and one of the heavier items of traffic to make the journey to the docks at Leith. They were delivered to Papenburg as complete assemblies, great boxes of hydraulic tricks. They were taken from their barge and welded into the spaces left for them in the sides of the ship. Part of the stern is swung into position. The structure being lowered here will have the port rudder fitted to it. The windows are to the captain's quarters under the bridge. The bridge itself is added. Despite the preference of the electronics engineers, Oriana's first master, Commodore Ian Gibb, insisted the bridge had open wings. There are times when a captain needs to feel the wind on his face. The 8th of April 1994, a year and a day from the maiden voyage. Lord Stirling and Bernard Meyer tour the ship. their route marked by big yellow footprints painted on the deck.
We have a container harbour.
It's Lord Stirling's first sight of his investment. His inspection is thorough, as befits a man who has taken a direct interest in every phase of the ship's design and construction. He had strong opinions on the layout of the stern. He had the restaurant ceilings raised, and his was the final approval for the furnishings.
We have actually planned for that. We did comment that needs more upholstery.
Don't have any relationship to the chair, the bit itself. And the brass bit has no relationship to either.
The brass goes. We're not having the brass in.
No, but I don't.
Mock-ups of the interior have been prepared, including one flight of the main staircase. And this was an early version of the Oriental restaurant.
That one's a little wider.
But if you do it on the Canva, it works quite well, and they've got a similar arrangement.
There's not many.
It does actually work.
Tim,
Especially if you put the...
Oriana will be the fastest ship that has been built in the last quarter of a century.
Another of Oriana's prime movers, P&O Cruises Managing Director, Gwyn Hughes.
We want the ship to be able to get to destinations in a reasonable amount of time that no other ship can manage. She's been designed for speed, and behind us you can see part of the keel coming down into position. This aspect of the ship really is the unique aspect of the ship, because the sleek lines at the bow section of the ship are part of what enables the ship to attain the speed, even in ocean-going conditions.
One of the most critical components of any ship is its propellers. The obsolete coins of Eastern Europe were smelted by Oriana's propeller makers. It gives a whole new twist to communist revolutions. Inevitably, they are big, taller than a double-decker bus. But it's not so much their size as their science which is exciting. They have variable pitch, which means their blades can be swiveled to drive the ship full ahead or full astern without having to reverse the engines or adjust their speed. The lifeboats were made in Holland. Boat building in glass-reinforced plastic is very different from the process of welding steel. In its way, more laborious, as layers of fibre matting are added. Oriana has 8 partly enclosed lifeboats, 2 lifeboat tenders, 4 tenders, and 2 fast rescue boats. They would be dispatched if someone fell overboard. British diesel engines here. On board, the lifeboats can be launched from either side of Oriana, even if she has a 20-degree list. It's back to Newcastle for the life jackets. The test is to check that they will keep you upright, carried out in the local pool. Nice work if you can get it, this guinea pig business. Oriana will carry more life jackets than her maximum complement of 1,975 passengers and 760 officers and crew. The life jackets meet safety regulations which won't even come into force until the ship is 2 years old. The same goes for her fire protection, a computerized system which is more than state-of-the-art. Charles Arkinstall.
We've also put in a system which we believe is entirely new to ship design, which calls for smoke control in the event of a fire. We have all the systems on board which prevent the fire occurring, but should this take place, we have introduced a system which will enable the ship's officers to contain the fire to the smallest possible area.
But ships today not only have to keep their passengers and crew safe, they also have to play their part in protecting the planet. Oriana is built to keep the sea green. All waste is processed on board, so wherever her voyages take her, she will leave every place she visits just as she found it. Gwyn Hughes.
She will be taking people to areas of the world that they will not be able to get to otherwise. The world is in many ways becoming a smaller place, areas are becoming overcrowded. Sea travel is the one way in which one can get to isolated areas of the world and be at peace with the environment. And we anticipate that that will be even more important by 2020 than it is today. And that is what Oriana will be doing. And she's designed to do that for throughout the early part of the next century. She isn't just designed for 1995.
Nowhere is that more evident than in her navigation systems. Oriana could in theory complete any leg of a cruise without human intervention. Not that she ever would, of course. Spring 1994, and we are now within 12 months of completion. The ship is on schedule, but it's still hard to imagine her at sea. By May, 92% of the steel has been erected, and the bulbous bow designed to cleave a way through heavy seas is in place. Bow and stern thruster motors are now installed, and painting is well underway. Construction has reached high up the superstructure. Above deck 12, steel gives way to weight-saving aluminium. In June, Block 42, the upper part of the bow, is fitted. It slots into place with a steely snarl. Tradition amid the high-tech. Teak decks, 2.5 acres of them. Oriana is starting to turn on the style, and John McNeice reflects on the compromises designers have to make.
It always is a fight, a battle between the space that the designer wants and the space that he actually gets at the end of the day, because there's so much air conditioning, there's so much electrical, plumbing works, etc., which occupy very substantial portions of the ceiling space, that variations in floor levels, for example, that you might like to see, you cannot have because of the restricted head heights. That is certainly the single most difficult aspect to cope with in designing onboard ships.
A new band of workmen now inhabit the yard. The welders and steel erectors are retreating. The carpenters and finishers and decorators are in. Not that heavy engineering is quite over yet. The propellers have to be fitted to the ends of their long shafts. They each weigh 32 tons and have been computed to deliver an elaborate combination of economy, efficiency, and power. Graceful as sculptures, it's easy to forget that these are among the most technically complex pieces of design on the whole ship. The funnel has arrived. It's too tall to put on in the covered yard. The distinctive galleries round the stern, above one of the ship's 4 swimming pools, are getting their cladding of teak. As well as having the largest pool, Oriana has more open deck than any other cruise ship. Something else the British like. And teak not only looks good, it's exceptionally hard wearing. It comes from plantations, not rainforests. Joiners fit more teak round the pool. January 1995, and Oriana weighs anchor for the last time on dry land. Her hull is now completely painted.